Hilchos Shabbat Perek Chapter 3. Mutter lahaschel malacha erev Shabbos, afal pi shehi nigmeres meila b'Shabbos. It's mutter to begin the performance of a work on Friday, even though the work is completed on its own accord on the Shabbos itself. The Isser against work applies only on Shabbos itself. When a task is carried out on its own on Shabbos, we are permitted to derive benefit from what was completed on the Shabbos. Kate said, how so? Paiskin mayim magina Shabbos and chashecha ve'mismalas v'lechas kolayim kulei. We open an irrigation channel to garner on Friday, causing it to continue to fill throughout the Shabbos day. You can place burning incense under their garments, causing them to continue to make a fragrance throughout the entire Shabbos. You could apply a salve to an eye or a bandage to a wound, causing them to continue to heal throughout the Shabbos. You can mix ink with herbs before night and let the mixture soak throughout the entire Shabbos. You can place wool into a vat, the strands into a flax of oven so their color continues to change throughout the entire Shabbos. You can lay out snares of wild beasts, birds, and fish and nightfall so they continue to be captured throughout the Shabbos as well. You load the beams of an olive press around the stones of a grape on press on nightfall so that the liquids will continue to flow throughout the entire Shabbos. We can light a candle or a fire before evening so that it continues to burn throughout the entire Shabbos. A palm may be placed over a fire, or meat may be placed in the oven or over coals so that they continue to cook throughout the Shabbos with the intent that they may be eaten on Shabbos. Chacham said that there are certain restrictions that were enacted lest one stir the coals on Shabbos. Kate said, how so? Tafshel shalei boshel kotzorke v'chamish lehuch v'kotzorke tafshel sheboshel kotzorke v'chol zman shemestamik hu yafalei ein mashnei salgab be'esh b'Shabbos av b'shvonach m'veidim zer shemer yichata b'gecholov k'dei l'ash v'shlei k'dei l'tzamkei. When food has not been cooked to the extent that it's ready to serve, water has not been boiled, the food has not been cooked to the extent that it is ready to serve, but the longer it cooks, the better it tastes, it may not be left on the fire on Shabbos. If one remove the coals, one cover the coals in the range with ash or with thin chips from the combing or flax. The coals burn low, then they're covered with ash. Or the fuel used or with straw, stubble, or the feces of a small animal, so that no coals will remain. In these instances, it's obvious that the person has diverted his attention from the food, and so the decree is not enacted forbidding food to be left on the fire lest to stir the coals. When this is applied, with regards to a range whose heat is minimal. With regards to an oven, even if one remove the coals, cover them with ash, or use straw or stubble as fuel, we're not allowed to leave food on it or on it. Similarly, one should not put food close to it. As applies to food that was not cooked to completion, or was completely cooked, but will benefit from continued cooking. Since it's an oven is very hot, a person will not divert his attention from the fire. So we suspect that he will stir the small fire that remains, even if it's straw or stubble, or even if it's covered. Why do the Chachamim forbid leaving food in the oven even if the fire was removed? Because a person can remove only the majority of the coals, but the most intense heat. If the English call it tisher, it says it's impossible to remove the entire fire so that even a spark remains. Since an oven heat is very warm, we suspect that he will stir the fire so that the sparks that remain in the oven will burn more. Kupach has a warmer that is warmer than a range, not as warm as an oven. They say because therefore, if wood or gefis is used as fuel, it's considered equivalent to an oven, and we are not permissible to leave food within it, next to it, if it was not completely cooked. Even if it's completely cooked, but it will benefit from the continued cooking. This applies even if the fire was removed or covered with ash. Straw or stubble was used as fuel, is bound by the same rules as a range that was fueled with straw or stubble. Or to list from any group of it's bound by the same rules as a range that was fueled with straw or stubble, and food may be left cooked on it. Basically, kupach. What's a kira? What's a kupach? Kira makom shvisas. Shtik deris kupach makom shvisas kdera achas. A range is a place with the opening of two pots. A kupach is a place with an opening of a single pot. It says tafel chaysh leboshel klal ishboshel kol tzorkem stamik v'rali mutalish isei al gabe ish ben kira v'kupach ben betaner. When food has not been cooked at all, or has been completed to cooked to completion, or be impaired by further cooking, it's permitted to leave it cooking whether on a range or kupach or an oven. When the food has been cooked but has not been cooked to completion, or when it was been cooked to completion but will benefit from further cooking, it may be left on the fire if one placed an uncooked piece of meat as shortly before nightfall, for the whole dish is considered to be entirely uncooked. This applies although one has not removed or covered the coals, for he has diverted his attention from the food and will not stir the coals. Whenever a person does leave food on the fire in a situation where he was not allowed to, he has to wait. If he forgot, if it wasn't cooked totally, it's if it was completely cooked, but further cooking will benefit, it's permissible to be eaten immediately on the Shabbos. However, food is permitted to be left on fire. If it was taken from the fire on the Shabbos, it's forbidden to return it to its place. Food may be returned only to a range from which the coals have been removed or covered, or to a range or kupah that was heated with straw or with stubble. The cool is granted provided the food was not placed on the ground. If it was placed on the ground, it may not be returned even to the range whose coals were removed or covered. Food may not return to an oven or to a kupah that was heated with gefas or with wood, by the fact that one has removed or covered the coals, for they are very hot. Whatever food should not be returned, it should also not be placed next to it. Also, the hachanis magrif of der b'shabbos begin ala eish la'itzimer b'shabbos and they should make a spell b'zem mitzvah b'shul hom nitzvah k'mbashal b'shabbos. It's forbidden to insert a ladle into a pot to remove food while it's on the fire on Shabbos, because while doing so, one stirs it. Stirring is one of the activities necessary for cooking, and thus one will be cooking on Shabbos. So the It's permissible to shift a pot from one range to another, even when the heat of the first range is not as great as the heat of the second range. One may not, however, take food that was on a range and covered it to maintain its heat. Take food that was covered to maintain its heat and place it on a range. Person is allowed to fill a pot with peas or beans or a jug with water and place them in an oven on Friday night before nightfall and leave them to cook. Says he don't need a lot of cooking. If it died down, you want to eat it right away. The figure differ also the stress of a tanner. You can't leave it in a tanner. If a person does, then he has to wait the amount of time necessary to cook them, for them to cook. Once in Shabbos, Tanner shenoslam teiri bosin beidin b'shiyos b'Shabbos and bosin g'diyum b'tekiyetz b'mutar. When meat is placed in the oven before nightfall and left to roast on Shabbos, if the meat is from a kid or from other tender flesh, is permitted. Such meat requires only the warmth of the fire itself, and if one stirs the coals, the meat will char. If the meat is from a goat or an ox, it's forbidden lest he stir the coal to cause them faster. If everyone seal the opening of the oven closed with clay, it's permitted for if one opens the oven to stir the coals, the wind will enter the goat, the meat, and harden and spoil. The oven will cool, suddenly the meat will spoil. Whenever something would be spoiled by the wind, we do not decree against it being heated, because someone might open the oven and stir the coals. There's usually when we place strands of flax into an oven to bleach before nightfall, for if one opens the oven, they will spoil. This is about nothing to show with Techatana, or you could buster easy, buster shed, or also the shit you came to. If one placed an entire kid into an oven, the situation is governed by the laws applying to meat from a goat or to an ox, so unless one stir the coals, unless one seals the oven closed. With the shalshal kevish, now, for the 14th, when this falls on Friday, it is, however, permitted to hang the Pesach lamb into an oven directly before nightfall, and those not still closed. The members of the company gathered to eat the sacrifice are careful. The Tizayin, Ein Tzelem Basar, Ubotzel B'Tzel Gabe'er Shalei Ella, Kedei Shitzelem B'Deim Yorun Lachila. Meat, onions, or eggs should not be roasted over an open fire unless they can be roasted before nightfall to the point where they are fit to be eaten. No shoro achar ken ala ish b'Shabbos ad shitzela arba mutrin b'shein k'nistabik v'rali shemechad yachar v'esir shal gufa ish for him. If they are roasted to the extent before Shabbos, it's permissible to leave them on the fire to be roasted further. As far as that the increased heat will impair their taste. Since they are being cooked over fire, once there's the coals, they will char. This reason we're allowed to leave incense on the clothes before nightfall to perfume them, for if one stirs the coals, the incense will burn and the clothes will be damaged by the smoke. So the only reason why it's usher is because we're worried that one will stir the coals. Wool should not be placed in that bath of dye unless it was removed from fire, unless one stir the coals. The bath should be sealed closed with clay, lest one stir the dye after nightfall. Not place bread in the oven directly before nightfall, nor should we place a cake on coals unless there is time for the surface attached to the oven with the side of the cake facing on the fire to crust. Since this may be done, it's permissible to leave it to continue baking afterwards. If one stirs the coals, one will spoil the bread. Now, if one placed it before nightfall, there's not sufficient time for the surface to crust before nightfall. If it's made and then with this minute you can take shalish. Now, when one rolls the bread, one should not rule it using baker's peel, as one does during the week. Instead, one should use a knife for similar utensils. It says, person may make a fire from any substance he desires, regardless of whether he kindles on the ground or on the torch holder. When he lights it before nightfall, he may use its light or warm himself from the Shabbos. As long as the majority of the fire before nightfall is kindled to the extent that it rises on its own. However, if not, Shabbos, you're not allowed to wipe the zish and mechat the ball. The other day, so much tala shall have us. We're worried that you stir or remove the wood so that the flame rises up. If he desires to burn a single piece of wood, he must kindle the majority of the thickness, the majority of the circumference before nightfall. As but he's making them when does this apply? Outside the temple premises, but in the temple it's permissible to light a fire in the chamber of the hearth before nightfall. We do not suspect that anyone will stir the coals, so the priests are careful. If the fire was made of reeds or of seeds, it's not necessary for the majority of the fire to be kindled. Instead, it says since it caught fire before Shabbos, it's permissible. Because the fire will spread quickly through these substances, and there's no necessary. He don't need to stir it. If the reeds were bound together or the seeds were placed in the palm basket, the same law applies to would apply. The flames must be powerful enough to rise up on their own accord before Shabbos. When a fire is filled with the tar, sulfur, all these substances, wax, tar, stubble, it's not required that the majority be kindled before the Shabbos because these substances catch fire quickly. Chapter Daled Aleph. There are substances which, if food is covered with them to preserve its heat, they will raise its temperature and contribute to its being cooked as fire does. Today, for example, gefes v'zevel metal v'sid v'chel zagan amishim asavim b'zman shloshtam lachel afilu makom sa'atzvot. Gefes, manure, salt, lime, sand. Normally, we use grape skins on processed wool or grass for this purpose when they are damp, even when this is due to their natural moistness. This is called substances that increase heat. There are substances which, if food is covered with them to preserve its heat, will accomplish the objective alone. They will not contribute to the cooking process, but they will merely prevent the food from cooling. For example, grape skins on processed fabrics, grass when they are dry, garments, produce, pigeons, feathers, thin strips from the combing or flax, carbon, their sawdust, pelts, and the shearings of wool. These are called things which preserve heat. Minatera would allow one to cover food and substances with substance that raised its temperature before nightfall, thus the food would be covered and its heat preserved of the Shabbos. For it's permitted to leave food cooking on a fire on the Shabbos. Chachamim made a decree forbidding covering food with substances that raise its temperature before nightfall, lest the pot boil on the Shabbos, and it will be necessary to uncover until its boiling ceases. If one were covered again on the Shabbos, one would be covering food with a substance that increases its heat on Shabbos, and it's forbidden. The finger from Mutal Hakim of Davar Mesav Helab and Ashmashrish is dumped there's Ashmashrish Karatcho and not Lenochol Boden Kimishanoko Shuveneretzen. Accordingly, it's permitted to cover food with substances that increase its temperature since at the time most pots have already boiled and they've cooled, so they cease boiling. Since they already cease boiling, it is unlikely they will boil again. Similarly, the Torah's definition of the Shabbos laws would allow one to cover food with substance that do not raise the temperature on the Shabbos itself. Chama, however, made a decree forbidding lest a person cover food with a mixture of ash and coals that the sparks of fire stirs the coal. If you can therefore also allowed davar cham b'Shabbos, if you davar shenem b'Zevil. Therefore, the Chacham forbade covering food with any substance on the Shabbos, even when it will not raise the food temperature. If one is unsure whether it is before or after nightfall, one may cover hot food. Submitted to cover cold food with a substance that will not raise its temperature to prevent it from becoming colder or turbulence chill. When hot food that was covered before Shabbos becomes uncovered on Shabbos, it may be covered again. Because it does not add. Or the laugh of a case of Shabbos is permitted to change the covering of food on Shabbos. Only replace clothing with pigeons' feathers, replace pigeons' clothing with clothing. Should a transfer hot food or water from vessels in which it was cooked into another vessel, it's permitted to cover the second vessel with a substance that does not raise the temperature on the Shabbos. As one is permitted to cover the cold. The Chachamim forbid against covering food on Shabbos applies only to hot food in the vessel in which it was cooked. If it was transferred, it's permitted. One may place one metal pot on another pot, an earthenware pot on another earthen pot, or an earthenware pot on a metal pot, and a metal pot on an earthenware pot. One may seal close with dough. Not for it to add heat, but the heat preserved. Also, only forbid covering substance on Shabbos. Permissible to place one vessel on another vessel so that they remain hot. It's permissible, however, to place cold food and hot food before the Shabbos. It's not considered a mushal to covering food with a substance that raises its temperature. Hilchos Shabbat, Chapter 5. Hadlakas near Shabbos, b'Shabbos iner shusam rotza malik v'em rotza iner malik. Killing on Shabbos near Shabbos is not a matter if you want or not. It's not a mitzvah you throw one after like any b'chatzir into Sidayim, but it's a chayv. Both men and women should have light in Shabbos. Even if you don't have what to afford, you have to have adlakas near Shabbos because you say near Shabbos. You make a bracha just like anything to receive. What the Shabbos is permissible to make use of a lamp or on near Shabbos. Rather, the matter does not require careful scrutiny. I will start with that, but you also allow him and never to clear Shamiyata. It's forbidden to use a Shabbos lamp with a speckless one tilt the lamp. The person who lights the Shabbos lamp would light it before, still day before sons of Anashim, women are more than men, but them, because they're in the house. Nevertheless, the men have to ask to be lighted. So something you don't light yet. Now, from the time the appearance from the sun that says till you see 3 middle-sized stars. It's called Ben Hashemoshes. V'usafim min hayom safim min halayla. It's a safik game, safik layla. Tanis l'hagav b'chol wakim. I think I'll therefore am adlik away. V'yisam lachav ben Hashemoshes b'erev Shabbos. But Shabbos sheyich chayav chatas m'kol wakim. Chamil l'gdil manidim. Stars not too big, like Tanam Elanin, and Belayla, Benim, Mashiras, Lashihavan, Elobenim, that's called Lala Valley. For sure, not. Hey, Psila Shamadikim, Shabbos, and Nation, Madover, or Masach Stephos Bay. The substance used cannot have the light that flicker. For example, Summer, Sear, Measured, Summer Airs, or Pishners, Bay, Nupans, or Sir Shaldego, and Mini Ice. Akrofa, for example, wool, goats, hair, silk, cedar, fiber, uncarded flax, palm bast, various types of soft trees. It has to be something that can light it. For example, pished in the foot with the shish, summer giffen, carter flax, linen clothes, cotton, and the like. Person can in the light should make sure that the fire has caught on the major portion of the wick that emerges. One who winds substance that may use as a wick around the substance that should not use as a wick. If 1 is 10 was to make the wick thicker, it's just from Lahakshi, if 1 in 10 was to make the wick firmer still, not erect and not hang downwards, it's mutter. Nason Gargir shall met up in Dishal Pelopia near Bed of Shabbos, Yadim Melil Shabbos. Or we place a grain of salt or be at the opening of the lamp on Friday, so it will burn better on Shabbos. Any substance that may not be used as a wick on Shabbos may be used in a large fire either for warmth or for the purpose of light, where the fire is within the holder or the ground. Also, they only answered it in regards to use of a wick, a candle, or a wick for a candle. The fuel used for kindling the Shabbos light must be drawn after the wick. But fuels that are not drawn after the wick, again, for example, Zephyr, Shabbos, Shemikik, all these things, you can't use it. Why can't you use it? Because they're not drawn after the wick. This decree is lest the light of the candle be dim and one tilt in order to carry out the activities by its lights. One may use tallow, fish materials that have been boiled, provided that one mixes the minimal amount of oil. Other fuels may not be used as fuel for Shabbos lamp, may not be used even when they are mixed with fuels that may be used, since they are not drawn after the wick. We may not use pine sap as fuel, because it reduces unpleasant fragrance, lest one will leave the room on Shabbos. There is an obligation to sit at a room illuminated by the light of the lamp. We may not use also balsam oil because it's very fragrant. As possible, one will take some of the oil of the lamp. We may not use naphtha. Sure, for light even during the week, it is extremely flammable and may cause danger. But again, you can use Shaman's name is Shumshan of 11 case was a radish oil sesame oil alternative. In also the only time it's also is what the Chacham mentioned. Person cannot place a container with a hole filled with oil above the opening of a lamp, so that the oil will drip. Not fill a boy with oil, put it next to the lamp, and place it next to the end of the wick in it so that it will draw oil. Should both forbidden as a decree, lest one remove the oil in the vessel which has not become repugnant in the lamp. Also, let us preshav on the shemesh a little bit. You can't have any enough. I feel the cost on there, even if you extinguish it. Because this is all muktzah, because it's set aside to be used for forbidden. If one attached the container to the lamp with cement, clay, or the like, then it's one time. We may not place a container under a lamp to collect the dripping of oil, for by doing so one nullifies the possibility of using the container. If however one places it before the commandments, then it's mutter.
Basically, that has a never Shabbos Kabul in its system. Nishin bim hen mamash for her is bitlum top plane. Replace the utensil beneath the lamp on the Shabbos to collect the sparks because they have no substance, and thus one does not nullify the possibility of carrying the utensil. Also, to take a mime after the of Shabbos and Nishum a curve keep in its sisters. Should be nowhere to place water within it, even if one does so on Friday, since by doing so one causes the sparks to be extinguished sooner. Idal ain't pain layer and never carrying layer and never feel the givers to him. Because I feel a sir bottom zelk observe a never inly curvely. If I follow layer to thin it, why can Shami Yishka for you? Maybe you're going to forget until the lamp. Why you Shnayim paid and if two people reading one thing, what the liquor is the fan air. Why is Kolachem and Masker? Each one's going to remind the other. I will labor Shnain Yonim. Why is Kolachem and Tadab Yoni? Everyone, if you're reading two different things, everyone will be occupied with his subject. Children may read in the presence of their teacher, but the lamp for the teacher will watch them over. Teacher, by contrast, may not read, for there is no fear in it. We nevertheless look at the scroll with the light of the lamps to find the beginning of passages that he needs to read from. Afterwards, you should place the scroll in their hands and have them read it. Articles that resemble each other and can be discerned from each other only after careful inspection to the light of the lamp and the vanilla unless one for again tilt the lamp. So therefore, an attendant who is not permanently employed is not allowed to check cups and bowls by the lamp since he doesn't recognize them. Attendant who is permanently employed may check cups and bowls in the lamp. This doesn't need a lot of iyon. If olive oil was used as fuel for the lamp, he should not be instructed to check objects by its light, although he is permitted to do so. This is the decree, and not unless he takes the from oil. When the lamp is burning behind the door, it's forbidden to open and close the door in one's ordinary manner because one might extinguish it. So one should open and close it carefully. So be able to open the door opposite a fire on the Shabbos so that the wind will blow it and fan the fire. Even if there's only ordinary wind. Shabbos lamp may be placed on a tree attached to the ground, there's no need for anxiety. 6 plaster are blown there. They're sounded in a high place so that they can be heard by all the inhabitants of the city and the surrounding. The first one was blasted to halt plowing, digging, and performing other labors. And the ones that are distant, they're not permitted to enter the city until those who are distant come so they enter at the same time. However, the stores may still remain open and the shutters in place. So now close this up. But then this is once the third is blasted, once you remove the pots, one intends to remove cover those who wishes to cover with insulating materials and light candles. Then they do the tequila through on the final tequila. The time Saturday night to inform the people that they are permitted to attend their affairs. Then later taken Shabbos later taken of Limadin. Shabbos taken Limadin Shabbos later taken.